I am prepared to admit it. I watch more TikTok than I should. There, I said it. We have a complex relationship, me and the clock app. I download it, I watch 100 hours of minute-long videos, I get really disgusted, and then I delete it and re-download it a week later. Currently, I'm in an off period. We'll see how long that lasts. The problem is that the TikTok algorithm gets me, or it gets some version of me. I guess that's the point. It's owned by a multi-billion-dollar internet technology company who has developed large-scale machine learning algorithms for personalized information recommendations, meaning they have tasked themselves specifically with getting me, and probably also getting as much data about me as is humanly possible. After all, what am I in the eyes of cyber capital if not a source of data? This is something people talk about with TikTok, how it surfaces things that grip you, but which you would never willingly self-select. Maybe it finds these things deep within you, maybe it somehow creates those desires. Either way, for some people, it's weightlifting videos, for others, it's eye contact practice, and for me, it's skateboarding videos, slow motion skateboarding videos specifically. Here is a selection collected over a few months of scrolling. The truth is, I actually have very little interest in skateboarding. I watched skateboarding in the last Olympics, and that was fun. I'm very proud of and impressed by all of my pals who board. But other than that, I mean, I ollied once when I was 15. I considered it a triumph, and then I hung up my wheels forever, which actually, I think I may still have in my basement. Hold on. Yep. Oh boy. Jules. Yes, a skateboard. I don't think you've ever seen one of these. Okay, I'm making a video. I'll be back in a sec. Still has my skinny puppy stickers on it. Anyway, I suspect my fascination has less to do with skateboarding specifically and more to do with slow motion, which, I mean, I guess makes sense. Slow motion is notoriously captivating. There's a reason that the slow-mo guys are still around after a decade of breaking mugs and popping balloons. There's a reason Destin from Smarter Every Day uses that camera that looks like the Aperture Science quantum tunneling device. There's a reason that people keep making these videos. TikTok keeps showing them to me, and I keep watching them. But why? Why am I so enthralled by crawling kickflips and glacial frontside grinds? Why do I find slow-mo skating, or really fit checks or dogs running or anything really, but especially skateboarding, so compelling when the regular mo versions of these things are sort of unremarkable to me, to be honest? There are a few reasons, I think, and that's what this video is about, how the altered motion of normal events can make an audience feel certain things. We're going to talk about aesthetics, the perception of time, a little bit about phenomenology, psychology, knowledge, and how we judge expertise. Slow motion video is interesting because it's atypical. That is probably the first thing to acknowledge. It's novel, but now we'll ask, what's the nature of that novelty? Looking to narrative, we can see how turning time to molasses increases drama and tension. Consider the slow-mo game-winning point, or romantic conclusion, or its use in conjuring the effects of substance use. Slow-mo heightens expectation and the payoff of that expectation's confirmation or denial. It gives us time to guess and second-guess an impending result, and time to savor the run-up to what often feels inevitable. That feeling of inevitability, feeling like you're watching the future reach backwards to meet the present, that is important to how slow motion creates the meaning it does. We're going to talk more about that later, but the gist is feeling like you know what comes next, and then seeing that it does come next makes you feel really smart. The distension of duration also aestheticizes it. Slow motion turns the otherwise famously mundane passage of time into a creative choice. Abandoning the 1 second per second norm of reality's playhead shows that some moment should be appreciated more intensely than others. It can be used as a time stood still effect to heighten a sense of danger, as a frame for an over-remembered moment of loss or trauma, as a metaphor or to provide scaffolding for the male gaze, or to give a sense that some subject is weightless, free, and often expert, untethered by the laws of physics, keeping the rest of us down. In each, the subject is always disconnected from time, and as such, they often appear graceful, even when the action otherwise appears chaotic or even horrific. And that tension is impactful, and it's very meaningful. Slowed things become elegant, fluid, and purposeful. This is a big insight into why I can take or leave this, but I find this just gripping. Okay, so slow-mo makes things appear graceful, and that grace is perhaps a big part of its captivating aura, but why? Why is grace something that might be so valued or meaningful? To answer that, we're going to turn to French philosopher Henri Bergson, who wrote a lot about time, experience, and intuition. In his doctoral thesis, Time and Free Will, Bergson describes grace as, quote, the perception of a certain ease, a certain facility in the outward movements, end quote. That which is graceful, in other words, exhibits smooth and effortless motion. Think a ballerina, a martial artist, a particularly good speed run. Graceful movements are judged superior, Bergson says, because an audience can easily understand and predict them. He writes that grace is, quote, the pleasure of mastering the flow of time and of holding the future in the present. Grace encourages the formulation of expectation, which is then met. Graceful motion has clear antecedents and foreseeable consequences, which, when they finally manifest, are satisfying because you saw them coming a mile away. I mean, this sounds sort of like the experience of watching slowed things, right? Where the expectation of what's going to happen is built as you watch whatever action slowly unfolds, and then there it is. Well, guess what? That's not all. This whole process of watching graceful movements unfold, Bergson explains, impacts our sense of time. Grace makes normal time feel slow. It can also make the graceful thing feel under our control. Like, in seeing what's coming, in knowing what's about to happen, maybe it kind of feels like we're willing its movement to happen. Bergson calls this, quote, a kind of physical sympathy. It feels like we are a part of graceful motion. We and it are joined in time's weary progress, he writes. The reverse, I think we're learning, is also maybe true. While gracefulness slows time, slowing time draws out grace. By supercooling movement, we're given access to the tiny details comprising the mechanistic relationship between board, border, and gravity, or bullet and glass, or whacker and grass. The minutia of the world is revealed to us, and often it is revealed as beautiful. This amounts to a kind of insight. What appears chaotic, arbitrary, lucky, or contingent at normal speed seems sensible, intentional, even inevitable when slowed. As Bergson says, we feel a part of what we see, and that physical sympathy leads us to find purposefulness in these fleeting slices of experience, moments to which we do not normally have access, but here we are, behind time's velvet rope. All the while, we can do this inspecting, this reflecting, this guessing and second guessing. We can pick slowed motion apart. We can account for all of the otherwise unseen details, appreciate and even investigate how the past becomes the present, which then oozes backwards from a future that we know is approaching. This is what Bergson means by mastering the flow of time. You gotta be careful though. Or at least I do. Having watched so many kickflips go so slowly, I have thought, well, okay, that doesn't look so hard. I get how this works. Maybe I can take up skateboarding. And then I have to remind myself that I shouldn't do that. Having witnessed detailed executions of pop shove-its at hundreds of frames per second does not make me, Tony Hawk, the pro skater. A master of time, maybe in one sense, a master of totally sick frontside grinds, definitely not. I am nearly 40, I should not attach wheels to my feet. As much as I feel like I know what's happening, like I know why a skater and their board have done in concert what they did, and even caught myself thinking, I know how they could have done that maybe a little bit better, I have to remember that I do not know those things. And it turns out this is something that happens when viewing slow motion footage. Feeling like one has knowledge or insight that they don't. And there's even some research to back this up, though, once again, with all of the necessary caveats that knowledge is provisional and every method that we have of producing and gathering it is contingent and imperfect and yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. Anyway, research suggests that viewers perceive more intent on the part of the person acting and feel more enabled to judge various qualities of that intent when watching a slowed down video versus a regular speed video. For instance, Spitz et al. Found that while slow motion replays could increase the accuracy of certain calls made by soccer referees, things like which player initiated a foul, was there in fact any physical contact, etc., slow motion replays were also associated with, quote, increased odds for choosing a higher category on the decision scale, i.e. no card, yellow card, or red card. Additionally, quote, in case of high-impact tackle incidents, there is a clear impact of slow motion, altering the judgment of the referees toward more severe disciplinary action, end quote. One of the hypotheses the authors provide for this is that slow motion could disrupt normal perception of causality, which in turn could influence the perceived duration of the event, end quote. Basically, it seems like if viewers perceive that someone has taken more time to act, that means there was more time for them to not act, to choose otherwise. And if they didn't choose otherwise, well, they must have meant it. And so the actions depicted appear more calculated and therefore more egregious. And so, on the pitch, red card. Similarly, spectators identify helmet-to-helmet tackles in American football as more intentional and more severe if shown slow-motion clips. What's more, even when warned ahead of time that the slow-motion clips will cause a distorted perception that actions are more severe, slow-motion bias diminishes, but it doesn't disappear. Probably this isn't too surprising if you watched the dirt on the camera lens video. These effects go beyond sports, too. In the 2009 trial of John Lewis, who shot a Philadelphia police officer during an armed robbery of a Dunkin' Donuts, jurors were shown security footage of the incident, some of which the prosecution slowed down. Lewis was convicted and sentenced to death. Caruso et al. Write, quote, on appeal, the defense argued that the slowed tape artificially stretched the relevant time period, creating a false impression of premeditation, end quote. Same principle as the soccer game. If viewers perceive someone as having taken more time to act, that means there was more time for them to not act. If they still act, well, they must have meant it, thus premeditation. Prosecutors countered that while jurors were shown slowed video, they were also shown real-time video and told across how many actual seconds the shooting took place. This, they argued, should ameliorate any bias. Caruso et al. Found in their research that otherwise might be the case. Displaying elapsed actual time saliency, they call it, alongside slowed footage, and showing multiple speeds of video can, again, reduce judgments of severity and premeditation, but, as you probably guessed, they aren't eliminated. The authors estimate that juries would remain twice as likely to judge a slowed action as premeditated, which in Lewis's case, and others like it, would mean first-degree murder. Slow motion, they write, can systematically increase perceptions of premeditation. And if jurors perceive video as a particularly objective representation of true events, its biasing potential may be especially pernicious. The appeal was tossed. John Lewis confessed to his crime in court, and as of filming at least, he remains on death row in Pennsylvania. What am I saying here? Am I saying that slow-motion skateboarding videos are the same thing as evidentiary security footage in a murder trial? No, I'm not saying that. But for a number of reasons, I try to remember the second when I encounter something like the first. These pieces of media, skateboard videos, security footage, sports replays, they all overlap in one formal quality, their speed. And that quality has some impact. It causes some affect around and about what's being depicted, as much and sometimes more than the content itself, which is to say that what a piece of media shows and how it is shown can be on equal footing with regards to the meaning that that media helps make. And furthermore, that the nature of that depiction, its formal qualities, can add meaning after the fact. This is maybe something that is obvious now that I'm saying it, but it's good to have a string of thoughts, some evidence, some research, some examples to back that idea up, to gesture at. Anyway, those impacts, that affect, it stays with us. It can inspire us to feel things about the world and the people in it beyond the media itself. Like, maybe I can skateboard. Maybe I do know what it's like to be a skateboarder. Maybe I know what that skateboarder meant to do, and maybe I know why they got it wrong. It's right there, in a moving document, showing objective reality in exacting and even excruciating moment-to-moment detail. This is probably why I'm sort of meh on skateboarding generally, but I am totally gaga over skateboarding. What I enjoy about slow-mo skateboard videos isn't just the graceful balletic performance, but the feeling of insight that I gain watching that balletic performance. Skateboarding is something you can be good at, something you can gain expertise in. But what I have to remember is that feeling like an expert isn't the same as being one, and that these pieces of media unintentionally inspire in me those feelings. Whatever Bergsonian physical sympathy I may feel watching these videos, it is a reference with no object. I sympathize with a depiction of the world, not something in it. This also makes me think, maybe there are even people producing and showing me media in all kinds of places on all kinds of topics, though probably not about skateboarding, if I'm being perfectly honest, with the goal of making me feel like an expert, even though I'm not. Using some formal quality or another, not always speed probably, but definitely sometimes, trying to make me feel like I can judge the actions and intentions of others. Maybe they make me feel smart because I can tell what's coming next, and then it does. But either way, I have to remember, feeling like I know something isn't the same as knowing it. Not even close. Absolutely not. I'm almost 40. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Wow, this car in front of me is really very bright. I'm gonna lower this, so I hope that isn't too distracting. Oh, now I can see. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it took so long to come out. It's really, yeah, it's been a struggle. Life really gets in the way. I have 2 more videos that are sort of in the works. I know the last time I said that I only had 1, but I decided I wanted to say something about Elden Ring, and so that one is gonna be the one that comes out next. It's gonna be a real race to the finish to get a video out while anybody still cares about anything people have to say about Elden Ring. And then the one after that is about food. We'll see. I really don't want to make any promises about when these are going to be out, but I'm going to try to get them out sooner rather than later. So that being said, if you liked the last couple videos, if you like this one, if you want to help me make the next couple, I'll put a link to a Patreon down below where you can throw me a couple bucks. Patrons often get early access to these videos. And when I say early access, like I mean sometimes months early, with maybe some sections missing, but yeah, so very early access is often what happens over on the Patreon, including other things like some music that I make and some weird sound stuff and this and that. So yeah, link for that down below. And if not, you can just get updates every now and again on my Twitter, which is @Rugnetta. And if you want to see any of the other things that I'm working on, I post about them there. The big thing is I make a TTRPG podcast called Fun City that takes place in a super future version of New York City with a bunch of professional criminals trying to figure out how to do the right thing. It's a huge amount of fun, and the people who I make that with are extremely talented and extremely funny. So if you want to hear more from me, that's probably the best place to do that. And I think that's all the back matter that I have. This line is, I'm so sorry about this. I hope that you are having a good beginning of the summer and that you are happy and healthy. I hope you have a good day, week, month, end of the year if I don't see you here before then. Thanks again so much for watching these videos, for talking to me about them in places other than on the platforms where they are hosted. It really means a lot to me. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling now.